There's something unforgettable about the 1960s. It was a decade full of turbulence, yes, but also full of promise. And right at the heart of that promise stood a young president who captured the imagination of a nation, John F. Kennedy. When JFK took office in 1961, he brought with him something that felt new. He was just 43, the youngest man ever elected president. And to many Americans, especially after the heaviness of the post-war years, he was a breath of fresh air. With his sharp wit, polished speeches, and calm confidence, he gave people hope that things really could change. Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. Most of us remember exactly where we were when we first heard those words. It wasn't just a slogan. It was a call to action, a challenge. He believed deeply in public service, in civic duty, and he believed in the American people. JFK had a vision for America, one that was bold, forward-thinking, and deeply rooted in the idea that democracy was not just a system, but a shared responsibility. In his eyes, the government wasn't some distant institution. It was us, all of us, working together to build a better tomorrow. He didn't want a passive country. He wanted an active, engaged, inspired citizenry. Under his leadership, Americans began to dream bigger again. The idea of sending a man to the moon that wasn't science fiction anymore. It was a real goal, and Kennedy set the tone, we're going to do this. Not because it's easy, but because it's hard. Because it would push us forward. Because it would unite us. That's the part that people often forget. JFK understood the power of national purpose, of bringing people together around something positive, something meaningful. He didn't want to divide. He wanted to uplift. He believed we could rise above our divisions and work side by side, whether we were Democrats or Republicans, young or old, rich or poor. He believed in that unity. JFK also pushed for civil rights, although progress was slow. He knew that the promises of freedom and equality had not yet been fully realized. His speeches on race and justice marked a turning point. And while the major laws would come after his death, he helped open the door. He used his platform to speak out, to say what needed to be said. Even when it wasn't popular, he also believed in diplomacy, in peace, not just power. During the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962, he faced one of the most dangerous moments in human history. The world stood on the edge of nuclear war. But Kennedy, with steady nerves and careful judgment, helped pull the world back from the brink. He chose dialogue over destruction, strength with restraint, bravery without arrogance. That was Kennedy's gift, making us believe again. He spoke to our better angels. He talked about equality, education, peace, and progress. And even though not everything he promised was fully realized in his lifetime, he helped lay the groundwork for the changes to come. He stirred the American spirit in a way that few presidents have managed before or since. But of course, no story about JFK is complete without acknowledging the heartbreak. November 23, 1963, Dallas, Texas. That day changed America. The shock, the sorrow, the disbelief, it's hard to put into words. It felt like the future had been stolen. So many people who had pinned their hopes on Kennedy's leadership were left asking, what now? The nation mourned together. It was a collective heartbreak, one that lingered long after the funeral. It felt like the wind had been knocked out of the country. His young wife, Jackie, with grace and poise beyond her years, became a symbol of national strength in grief. The image of little John saluting his father's casket, that's something you never forget. It was the end of something, but also the beginning of a legacy. The torch had been passed, and though it flickered in the wind, it never went out. Even after his death, his spirit didn't disappear. The Peace Corps, which he started, kept growing, sending young Americans across the globe to help others and represent the best of who we are. The push for civil rights continued. The moon landing happened just 6 years later, in 1969. His vision lived on. The seeds he planted began to bloom. His speeches are still studied in classrooms today. His words, recorded in grainy black and white, still have power. He spoke about things that matter: courage, freedom, service, sacrifice. His voice carried the optimism of a nation ready to take on the world, not with fear, but with purpose. He made the presidency feel alive again, full of direction and dignity. Looking back now, over 60 years later, Kennedy still stands as a symbol of something rare in politics: optimism. A belief that government could be a force for good. That leadership could be about courage, not fear. That unity was possible, even in the face of deep divisions. And that hope, real hope, could still find a home in the hearts of everyday Americans. And maybe that's why so many still talk about the Kennedy era as a golden moment, not because everything was perfect, but because the country believed in progress, because people felt like they had a president who saw them, who challenged them, and who truly wanted to make things better. He didn't pretend to have all the answers, but he was willing to ask the right questions. It's easy to grow cynical over time, to feel like politics is just noise. But remembering JFK reminds us that once, not so long ago, a leader inspired us to reach for something higher, not just for ourselves, but for our country and our world. He believed in service over self-interest, and in that belief, he gave Americans something priceless, a sense of purpose. He inspired a generation to become teachers, astronauts, scientists, doctors, volunteers. He encouraged people to be active, participants in democracy, not just spectators. His presidency was short, but his impact was massive. He reminded us that leadership was not about power, but about purpose. He treated the office with reverence and the people with respect. Kennedy didn't pretend to be perfect. He had flaws, like every human being, but he didn't let his flaws define him. He believed in progress, in movement, in forward momentum, and he believed we, the American people, could shape the future. That's the part that still resonates today. The belief that we can all play a role in something bigger than ourselves. We live in a very different time. Now technology, politics, culture, everything's changed. But some values remain: timeless service, integrity, courage, vision. JFK embodied those values. He believed in the potential of the American people. And maybe, deep down, we still believe in that too. Maybe we're still chasing the dream he spoke of so long ago. So today we remember not just the man, but the moment he created. The sense of hope, the energy, the call to dream and to do. We remember the sense that anything was possible, that the world was changing, and that we had a role to play in shaping it. That each of us mattered, that we had the power to light a candle instead of cursing the darkness. May we carry a little of that spirit with us still. May we pass it on to our children, our grandchildren, not just as history, but as a living idea, an idea that we can do better, that we must try. That hope is never out of style, that honor and purpose still matter, and that we, the people, can still rise to the occasion when it's asked of us. John F. Kennedy once said, "One person can make a difference, and everyone should try." Those are words worth repeating, worth living by, worth remembering. Because in the end, remembering JFK isn't just about the past. It's about the future, the one we can still create together.